Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Bytes Cloud Services webinar. So today we'll be joined by Alan Marquand and Jeremy Neal from Cube 52 and Stuart Curry from Bytes Software Services.
Thanks, Sarah. As with all webinars, I'm obliged to provide you a bit of background about who Bytes are and where we've come from. For some of you who are already aware of Bytes, this may be news to you as well. Bit of history to you. Founded back in 1982, and certainly we're now in a position of 150 million turnover. We have offices located the south and in the north, Leatherhead being our head office, so providing local services to all our clients throughout the UK. We do also have presence in Ireland, again providing local services out of that arena. We are part of the Altran Group, and the Altran Group is a £2 billion organisation based out of South Africa. So we have a lot of backing in terms of support into our customer base and also in our strategic view growing as an organisation. Out the back of that, with the drive of following that, we have sort of amalgamated our business into sort of 4 key areas. You're probably well aware of us as being a licensing organisation. Certainly that is our core market and our core offering into our clients, and along that pulls things like software asset management. So I won't delve too much into those, as the purpose of this call really is to talk about 2 other areas and really focus on one particular pillar, which is our cloud services. Recently, with the drive of our clients asking for supporting infrastructure to support our licensing offering, we've created a division called Data Center. That's been running now for the last 6 to 12 months, and within that pillar of knowledge and experience, we provide compute, storage, virtualization and backup, and we have vendors within that portfolio to complement our core offering, which is predominantly around Microsoft. And more recently, we have brought on our cloud service pillar, and with that, certainly we have offerings that offer on-prem, off-prem, infrastructure service, DR as a service, and a hybrid model, as most organizations these days are now looking at retaining core data and infrastructure on-prem, but looking to push out maybe where they can to some of a hosted or service that is going to be more cost effective. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Jeremy and Alan, who can then go into greater detail around our cloud service.
Well, thanks, Stuart. So, morning, everyone. Jeremy Neal here. What I'm going to do for the next 10 to 15 minutes or so, with Alan's assistance, is give you an overview of the Bytes Cloud Services platform. And this is something that, in the invitation to today's webinar, we highlighted as offering you flexible self-service access to an infrastructure as a service platform through a self-service portal. We'll show you that in action shortly. You'll also see how that allows you to create and orchestrate workflows across both public and private cloud infrastructures and options. You'll be seeing that delivered from secure UK data centers, which are at the foundation of the Bytes Cloud service that we're going to be talking about today. We'll then give you an idea of the sort of workloads and the IT issues that our customers are working through that are driving them towards an interest in this service. And at the end of the day, really what we're offering is an enterprise-grade IT platform to you as our customers on a pay-as-you-go OPEX model. And that's really, I think, the key innovation that we wanted to share with you and to make you aware of through today's webinar. I think the key point to make first of all is that for many years Bytes has been at the forefront of helping customers adopt cloud services. So in talking about Bytes Cloud Services platform today, we're actually talking about the extension of something that this business has been involved in for some years, leading on the things like the productivity opportunities through Microsoft Office 365, and also where customers have been looking to public cloud compute resource in and around Microsoft Azure. So Bytes is very much at the forefront of being able to deliver that type of opportunity to our customers. And over the last 5 or 6 years, that's really where the market has been. There's been a progressive and building willingness and appetite to embrace the innovation and the opportunity in the cloud to essentially, I suppose you could say, to deliver better IT for less money. I think that's the sentiment and the expectation that exists at board level for many of the customers that we work with. So as you can see here on this particular slide, we're looking at things like productivity, the opportunity to deliver a richer and more rewarding experience around communication, collaboration, productivity tools, and as I've mentioned, Office 365 being the case in point. That product has been around for nearly 4 years in terms of its commercial availability, and is now very much considered the obvious way for people to deliver that type of capability to their IT consumers within their organizations. Similarly with CRM, both not only with the Microsoft estate over recent years, but going back actually to, I suppose you could say, the foundation of cloud services within business through Salesforce originally. And so CRM in terms of customer relationship management, support, and so forth is very much a part of where organizations are looking to take that advantage, but would prefer to do so from the cloud. Infrastructure, generally speaking, the opportunity to sort of plug in and get access to CPU horsepower on demand and to actually create new applications and workloads in business based on that opportunity. That is something relatively new, very well established now though, having said that, through the likes of Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, and so on. Around storage, this is an area which I think is affecting all businesses just because of the exponential growth in data volumes that we're all living through, and the challenge that presents in terms of the data that you need, the data you should store, the cost of that storage, and the options available. And then lastly, in terms of dev and test, which for all industries, regardless of the regulatory framework that you're working through, there may be an opportunity to use the cloud to accelerate and if you like, take cost out of the dev test process for your organization. So that's a sample of the workloads that we see that are driving adoption of cloud services today. So moving on from there, as I say, the Bytes Cloud Services capability that we want to introduce and show you today is based on this infrastructure as a service platform, this private cloud managed service hosting environment that we have created and that Bytes in partnership with Q52 are offering to the market right now. So what this does is it gives you a self-service point of access to the resources that you need in order to provide a platform for the new IT workloads that your businesses require. So this is, as I say, through that self-service portal. It's available to you on demand, and you can manage resources both across private and public cloud through that single pane of glass, which is the sort of phrase that the industry uses. This is based on secure UK data center presence at Equinix and Telehouse, and it uses the very latest in technology from Cisco, NetApp, and Microsoft, and particularly the Microsoft Private Cloud technology. So Q52 is a Microsoft Cloud OS network partner, and it's that, if you like, credentialing capability that is the foundation of the Bytes Cloud Services offering. In technical terms, I don't propose to go through this diagram in any great detail. It's really more a nod in the direction of what this means and what this offers to you. And if it's something that is of interest at a technical level, then as Sarah said, we will be following up with you. We can explain this in more detail, or by all means, if you wanted to have a look at FlexPod, on the internet, then you could do that. Essentially, FlexPod is a reference architecture for converged IT. That is, if you like, the marketing phrase that is used to describe this. What I think that means in principle is that this is a blueprint for the delivery of the modern IT services that we all want within our businesses or within our organizations. It has been designed by Cisco and NetApp and Microsoft in collaboration. So you could think of it, as I said, as a blueprint that those three organizations have sat down, collaborated on, and thought, well, if we were to design the IT platform for the future, what would it look like? How would that work? What components would that contain, and what benefits would that deliver? That is the blueprint that those organizations have come up with, The name for it is FlexPod, and we have made that a reality at the UK-based data centers that we offer, and it is that platform and that resource that is available to you through the portal that you're going to see Alan demonstrate shortly. So before I hand over to Alan, I just wanted to sort of bring this up to date in terms of the conversations that we are having now with you, the customers of Bytes, not just you, those of you that are on the webinar today, but generally across the board, pretty much without exception, all of our customers, regardless of the industry they're in, the the vertical market and the regulatory framework in which they have to operate, some of the workloads, some of the issues that I've called out here are are projects and IT priorities that they will be working on over the next 12 to 24 months, where the Bytes Cloud Services platform could give them a way of accelerating and providing different options to deal with those issues. So, for example, Windows Server 2003 end of life, you'll probably have heard from Microsoft, you may well have heard from your Bytes account manager, the issue that is looming very large now in terms of the need to deal with the end of life in terms of support for Windows Server 2003. Bytes Cloud Services offers a fully virtualized Windows Server 2012 R2 platform as a destination, if you like, so that if you're facing that issue and you've got to deal with legacy applications, one option that we can offer to you based on the Bytes Cloud Services infrastructure as a service platform is a destination. So you don't have to recapitalize cost in tin in order to stand up your own Windows Server 2012 R2 platform for those updated applications that you rely on in your business. Perfectly legitimate to do that. We're not saying there's a right or wrong. It's simply that the option is there. Same with disaster recovery. We're talking to lots of organizations now where they're looking to the cloud as a means of providing a failover and a DR endpoint that gives them assurance over the day-to-day operation of their business. And that is something that, again, can be offered against the Bytes Cloud Services platform. Ours is a Windows Server 2012 R2 platform, as I've said, with System Center Hyper-V. We can work directly if you're running Hyper-V yourselves, either whether you have physical or virtual servers. Indeed, if you're running VMware, there are options there to use our platform for DR and backup purposes. Obviously, also the rest that we've already talked about remain true. So infrastructure, but where that infrastructure in your preference, perhaps because of your information management policies, requires that it is UK-based rather than non-UK based in terms of where the data is held, where the compute resource operates from. So we offer UK data centers to complement what you may already be looking at from your public cloud provider, if that's a move you've already made. Same goes for storage. We partner with NetApp within the FlexPod capability that we offer. We offer something called NetApp Private Storage for Azure, which means that you can have your data stored securely in our UK data centers, but linked to the public cloud for the benefit of securing that compute horsepower on demand and the economy of scale that goes with that. We're talking to other customers who are in advanced stages of consolidating data centers and so forth. Again, much like the Windows Server 2003 end of life, you could be considering our platform as the logical home for some or all of the applications that currently you manage today with your own data center capacity. So without further ado, having given you that overview, I'd like to hand over to Alan now, who's going to demonstrate this for us live. Alan.
Well, thank you, Jeremy, and good morning, everybody. Right, so what I'm going to do is going to take you through the main parts of the portal. So I'm going to bring up my screen here. Everyone can see that, that's excellent. Okay, so we're going to talk about the self-service portal, and we're going to focus on basically 2 or 3 key areas, which are basically around the virtual machines and the virtual networks. We won't go into sort of the nitty-gritty settings and all that. The main part we'll show is what this portal actually does and what it can do for you. So when we log on, we start at the main dashboard, and the main dashboard tells us exactly what's going on within our cloud. Now, I've logged on as Jeremy, so I've got a cloud under Jeremy's name. And from the get-go, I can look at the at a glance section at the very top, and I can have a look at what's going on within my cloud. So straight away I can tell that how many VMs I should have. So I should have 10 VMs, I'm allowed 10 VMs, I'm allowed 10 CPUs, 8192 megabytes, and no prizes for guessing that that's actually 80 gigabytes, and an awful lot of storage. And little graphs tell me roughly what's used within that allocation. So I've got 7 VMs running, and I've got 3 I can build within this cloud. So that gives me an idea of the capacity within this environment that I can look at. And we'll see that graph again in a second when we talk about the virtual machines. Now, in the center section, we can see what's happening in the world. So there's an alert section that tells me roughly what is going on within my environment. So the very first one is a good example. At some point in the past, I've done a checkpoint on a virtual machine, and I'll explain what a checkpoint is in a minute. And the system is telling me that it's been deleted, so it's been used and taken off the board. So the alerts tell me critical information. Checkpoint deletion is one, VM deletion, VM start, VM stop, kind of the vital things that I need to know about what's going on within my environment. At the very bottom is a list of my support tickets. So anything that I've raised within the system, so raised to bytes, raised up to cube as well. Exactly what's been going on. Now, the virtual machine page. This is the core of where most of the time you'll kind of come to the portal and have a look. The virtual machine page allows me to create and manage existing machines. So surprisingly, we have the graph again. Tells me exactly what's going on. So this one tells me that 7 out of 10, which is right. That maps to what was on the dashboard. I've got 8 CPUs out of 10 that I've used. I can see how much memory, how much storage. I can have multiple private clouds if I wish. Today I've only got the one. I've got the Bytes Cloud Service Demo private cloud. So I can create any number of virtual machines within my capacity. So if I want to go down this line, I can actually create another 3. To create a virtual machine is very, very simple. Put a name in, enter a description, and then I can select from a variety of templates. Now we provide a variety of templates that can build you a Windows Server 2012 R2, Standard Edition, Data Center Edition. It can come with SQL on it, it can come with Exchange on it. It really is a very, very flexible system. But there is a template. I only have the one in this demo environment, so it's a standard version. Now if I don't know how kind of much space that's going to take within my cloud, I can actually have a look, and I can say, oh, okay, this template is going to take 1 CPU, it's going to take 1 gigabyte of memory, and about 4 gig of disk space. So within that, I know how much out of the capacity it's going to take. I can enter credentials, administrator name, password, and I click Start, click create virtual machine, and that's it. It'll be provisioned in the back end, and away it'll go. And give or take about 5-10 minutes, depending on how big the image actually is. It will then appear in this little bottom section called My Virtual Machines. Now, My Virtual Machines gives me a very quick overview of exactly what's happening at the back end with my machines. So I've got 7 machines actually running, and if I do a tally off between what's in my cloud, my CPUs and my virtual machines, this will map up exactly. So I had 7 virtual machines, but I had 8 cores used. Well, luckily enough, Ssl DC01 is the one that's got 2 cores added to it. So I instantly know how many CPUs each virtual machine has. I can see the state, so I know that DC01 is powered off, but the R2 machine is running. I can see the operating system. I have a little series of little icons across the top here. This allows me to manage the virtual machine from this environment. So I have a start, a stop, and a delete button. And I have 3 buttons following that, which are the connection options. So I have an Rdp connection, a console connection, and a restart connection. Now, a slight difference between the Rdp connection and the console connection is that the Rdp is coming in over the network, so it's using the standard Rdp ports. The console connect allows us to come in and connect directly to the machine if the network is no longer available. So we come in via our internal network, and that's the slight difference between those two. But again, across the top, I can control the virtual machines from this particular point. I'll work on the Windows Server 2012 R2 Machine 0 for a while. So on this particular machine, I can see that it's been up for 9 days, and that I have a snapshot, and I have a various amounts of disk space. So I've got 39 gig of free disk space, which should map to the little graph here. And I'm not using an awful lot on this particular machine. I'm only using a gig of disk space on this template. As you can see in some of these other machines, they're using 9 gig and 31 gig is free. So from this particular view, I get a very quick view of my virtual machines. Now, I'll sometimes need a little bit more information, and as we talk about what the virtual machines can do, that's where we come into the Manage screen. So I can click on the Manage button, and I'll bring up the Manage screen, and this goes into an individual machine itself. And from here, again, repeated the controls at the top, start, stop, delete, various connections and repair, the name, and I can rename the virtual machine at this particular point. If there were more templates, I'd be able to change the virtual machine at this particular point. I get a summary information across the right-hand side. Again, repeats a lot of information, but the important information here is going to be the IP addressing information, the networking information. Now, a virtual machine on its own, sitting in our data center, isn't particularly useful. It's just a virtual machine sitting doing something. Who knows what it's doing, but it might just be sitting there. To make it useful, we have to be able to connect to it and actually run applications on it. And that's where this networking information at the bottom, the name, the IP address, and the IPv6 addresses will come in useful. And we'll come on to where those are used and what they can actually do for you in a second. Right at the bottom, we also have the snapshot capability. Now, the snapshot capability takes what it says, a snapshot of this virtual machine at a particular time. I currently have 1. I can run up to 5 with a standard cloud. Now, what a snapshot allows me to do is have my virtual machine, take a point-in-time image of that virtual machine, and then work on the machine, such as install a patch, try a new update on a piece of software. If that all works well, we can get rid of the snapshot and it'll just carry on. If it has an adverse effect, the patch has an adverse effect on my application, or the application doesn't behave or doesn't do something that I want it to do, I can use the snapshot and basically roll back to that point in time. And I'm back to the point prior to where I installed the patch or made the software upgrade. So you can have 5 of those at any particular time, and they are very simple to create. You literally just click on the take a snapshot, and the system does the rest. So like I said, the virtual machine in this particular state, so MC0, is all well and good. It's sitting in our data center, and that's it. That's all it's doing. It's sitting in our data center running. To make it useful, you have to be able to connect to it. And we do that by allowing you to create a series of virtual networks and actually link up all the various machines. So I had 7 virtual machines in my environment, and I want to connect them all up. So what I've basically done is come to the network page, and I've created a network, and it's very easy to do. All I need to do is enter the name, give it an address space, and give it an IP count, and that's it. Those are the only 3 pieces of information that we need from you to create a network. Once we've created a network, it will appear in the bottom of the list, and again we have a Bytes Cloud Service network demo. It has 2 virtual machines on it. It tells me the address space that I've used, how many addresses are in use, and how many I've got free. So I've got 253 total addresses, so I've got 251 free because I've got 2 virtual machines. And the final column says NAT, and that's a network address translation feature. So this network is NAT enabled, and that basically means it's visible to the outside world. So we drill down on that network and talk about what all the components mean, because you're probably now saying, oh no, the network is now exposed to the world, what can happen? Well, from day one, nothing. So the network is actually locked at when we create it, and the very first page just allows us to make some minor modifications to the network. So we get some information. So here we are. There's the address information again. We also have the ability to add DNS servers. So at this moment in time, my virtual machine is there. It's on a network. It is NAT enabled. No one can see in, and it can't see out because there's no DNS server, so it can't do name resolution, so it can't actually see anything in the world. So at this particular point, I'm allowed to add a DNS server and actually build up how my machines on my network will see the world. At the bottom, the little switch enables the network on and off, and that's all we need to do to turn the network on to see the outside world, or turn it off to be completely private. The last little screen on here, we'll come back to the rules, but the last part is the virtual machines. This tells me what machines are on the network, what their IP addresses are, and from the drop-down, the ability to add all the other machines into the network. And I can also select one, we'll select DC01. I can add it to I can add a new adapter, multi-hone it, or I can add it to the free adapter. Now, like I said, the machine on itself is kind of sitting there doing not an awful lot. And the only way that it can see out is with how we tell it to see the world and how the world can see it. And that's done by network rules. And these are completely open to you. If you want to create these, you come in and create these, you open the ports. So right now my machine, and this is the MC0 machine that I'm going to be dealing with, because that's what the IP address is and the two rules on the bottom. The MC0 machine can actually connect to the outside world via two mechanisms. So I've created two rules that says I need to connect to this machine via remote desktop. And that rule at the bottom there, with the internal port of 3389, allows me to see that machine. But I don't connect on 3389. I use the external IP address that we provide, which is the 185 address, and then the additional ports, that's the 4000 port. So even there's an extra layer of security within that. So even if someone knew that my machine existed and that the RDP port was open, they would have to know the mapping that we were using to be able to connect to that virtual machine. Now, RDP is great if the application that we are using sits on the machine and we want to just connect into it, that's great. But if it's a web application, well, we will need web clients to access it. So they will need to have their own port opened up. So we have another rule which we've created called SSL. And the SSL port, we use the standard ports for 443. So that's the standard SSL port. It comes in on the private address, on the public address, and is routed straight through to the private address. So there's a direct mapping. Now my external port could have been something different. I could have called it 4001. And that would have been how you would tell clients to map in. So that's how the rules work. And again, these are very, very simple. A name, the protocol, the internal and the external ports, and the various pieces of information. In fact, you don't even need to know the name of the machine's IP address at the time. We give you the ability to have the drop-down box to actually connect to that. So that was basically what we wanted to talk to you about the portal and show you the core pieces of information. So the dashboard, where you can see all the basic information, the virtual machine page, where you can create and manage your virtual machines, and then the network page, where you can connect up your virtual machines so they can not only talk to each other, but talk to the outside world. So that concludes my part of the presentation.
Thanks, Alan. So what just in conclusion then, just to, if you like, wrap all this together, the way that we price this is very simple. We really just need to understand two key metrics from you as a customer in order to be able to give you a price for using the Bytes Cloud Services platform that Alan's just shown us. And those two metrics are the RAM and the storage. So what we provide is a private cloud that is defined by those two components, which, as you've seen Alan do, you then configure according to the VMs that you require. There may be a service component because we provide both self-service but also managed service and fully hosted options. So depending on which of those you prefer, there may be a service element to the price as well. Our pricing includes, within those two very simple metrics, the snapshots that Alan's referenced. It includes bandwidth, it includes one public IP address, and obviously things like support and high availability SLA, as you would expect. So those are wrapped into the price, where some of the other providers of this type of private cloud will charge extra for those things. So those are all included in the price, and we can take you through that and give you an indicative cost for a particular configuration as and when you're ready to see that. So in summary then, what you've seen today is the Bytes Cloud Services platform offering infrastructure as a service, offering self-service based on an enterprise-grade IT platform, which is the Cisco NetApp FlexPod, signed off by Microsoft for their private cloud technology. And I suppose the key point is that this is enterprise-grade IT, as I say, that is available to you on demand through Bytes as a single vendor, offering you, in effect, a virtual private data center resource option for the IT projects and priority workloads that you're looking at this year. So that is the key message from today. This is adding to the extensive cloud options that Bytes already offers, giving you UK-based data centers, private cloud, managed service and hosting options to provide complete end-to-end choice. So lastly then, in terms of next steps, thank you obviously for your time in attending the webinar this morning. What we would like to do as a follow-up is, through your Bytes Accounts Manager, talk to you about what you've seen today to see whether or not the workloads and the IT projects that we are routinely talking to other customers about are relevant to what you're working through and the tasks that lie ahead for you. If they are, and we believe that the Bytes Cloud Services platform could be of benefit to you, then we'd like to talk about giving you a trial of the platform through the interface that you've seen today. So that's what will happen next. You'll be hearing from your Bytes account manager, and we'll see if that's something that you'd be interested in doing.
Okay, lovely. So that's all of the presentations for today. So thanks very much to Alan, Jeremy and Stuart for presenting.